Hi, this is Brennand from Imagineer Systems. A common challenge in visual effects tracking is tracking very long panning shots. To track these kinds of shots with traditional trackers, the FX artist often has to resort to the difficult task of offset tracking or manual keyframing. Mocha's planar tracker can save a huge amount of work with these kinds of shots, but today I'm going to show you a very unique way of dealing with tracking pans to save even more time. I'll do this by unlinking the track layer. We'll then bring the footage into After Effects and use RG Warp to finish off the shot. Right, so here we are in Mocha. Let's start a new project by going to the New Project Wizard, import our clip, keep all settings the same, and finish. So we have a long panning sign here. Now normally the way we'd want to track this is we'd find a good place to start, like here, come up to our X-Spline tool, and draw a reasonably large shape. We then begin our track. I'm going to start tracking backwards first, just to get the part of the frames here. And you'll see that the search area moves along as it tries to find the track and locks in place. That's generally fine, until we come to going the other way, where eventually the search will actually go off the screen. We then have to usually pause, let's zoom out a little, holding down the Z key, and then we would move our search area just a little bit to keep the search area in shot and keep moving. As you see again, the search area is moving with the track. This is a perfectly acceptable way to track the shot, but there is a easier and somewhat more useful way to do this. So let's trash this. What we can do instead is create our same search area, right-clicking to fix our corner points. We can then come down to Link to Track and set this to None. What this is going to do is keep this search area completely stationary and only track what passes underneath it. To give you an example, I'll turn the grid on and start to track forward. What you'll notice is the search area will stay where it is, but the underlying surface, the thing that's actually being tracked, will continue to move up. This means that we don't have to move our search area anymore, and can just let the track go forwards. Obviously for some tracks you're going to have to keep an eye on this, because sometimes there just isn't anything that is going to fall under this little spline search area that will be useful to it. But for the most part, for a shot like this, this will suffice perfectly. Okay, I just paused there for a little while to let the track complete, and now we have the completed track in the shot. We can preview this. I'm just going to zoom out a bit, again holding down the Z key and just zooming out, and I'm going to turn on my grid. You can now see again, the spline stays stationary, but the grid keeps on moving up as it follows along with the track. Keep in mind, the entire Unlinked track went without any manual adjustment on my part or additional tweaking in keyframes. This means we can now go ahead and set up our surface. So I'll turn that on. Just move in a little bit. Holding down X to pan and Z to zoom. And I'll move my corners on the first frame, where I can see them, up to the top. And for this I'm going to have to move quite far back. Move all the way down to the bottom on the last frame, and drag my corners down. Keep in mind that you can use the zoom window up in the top left hand corner to really get that corner accurate. So now we can see the surface is moving all the way along. We can also check this by going to our Insert Clip tab and throwing in something like a grid by 32 by 32 to seeing how well it sticks. I'm just going to call this layer something more coherent, so I'm just going to call this Sine Corner Pin. And for now I'm going to also turn off my grid. Okay, now that we have our surface set in the layer, we can go ahead and move across to After Effects. There's one more thing that we need to check before we actually start using Red Giant Warp, however. If we go to our Clip tab, and to the Time tab in there, we want to make sure that the frame offset is going to be the same as where the frames start in your composition in After Effects. After Effects, more often than not, starts on a frame of 0. Red Giant takes this frame offset very seriously, so you need to make sure that it is actually set to the same in the composition, otherwise your track will slip because it will try and paste the keys further along in the timeline. So let's go back to our track. We've got our layer selected, so we can export tracking data. We already have After Effects corner pin only with support for RG Warp selected, so we can go ahead and save. I will select my Sine CP text, which I've saved previously, and save. We can now move across to After Effects.